Okay, this is NickToons Unite. I planned this game from the beginning. Okay, so this is just a rough. This is the main game with whatever is part of the main game. And this kinda looks okay, but here's the thing. NickToons Unite was the game. It was completely not done. It was a fun game, of course, but I feel like some elements of the game was completely missing from, well, the whole game. There's a few things that I changed that has another piece of paper, but all of gaming, this game, is completely not done. And we start out with Bikini Bottom from the main game, and we go through all of the levels all the way through, even to the Doomsday device. I'm not explaining all of this. Somebody can look through this, but all of this is the main game. And here's the thing. NickToons Unite is a fun game. This is all the levels, everything. But it was missing stuff. And I came up with a whole different new game thing. It's actually pretty good. And this is kinda not so good. Just change a few things and it's perfect. So this is the main game. I'll go in detail, but that's the whole thing. Everything. Top to bottom. Okay. The game, okay, I like how the opening is with we open up in SpongeBob and the narrator talks into the third person thing and narrates the entire thing. I really like that, but I changed the levels up, okay? And this game completely has been redone. The Nicktoons game should have started out with the villains actually planning and doing what they were doing. I have this whole thing planned out. We start out with Professor Calamitous. He's working on his robots. He has a few robots, a few things from Nicktoons, somewhat Jimmy Timmy Power Hour game, and it's an early reference towards this game. He has all the inventions, and then Mr. Crocker meets up with him. And everything that was cut from this game is actually in the game too. So we got a whole bunch of stuff. We get to Mr. Crocker. He's working on his suits, the robots. This takes a few months, but we skip over a few months of time. And all the planning was set up. Jorgen Von Strangle, the military secret agent, freaking fairies, all those fairies. The big one, they take over the tower one. That's a whole thing. All the inventions, all of them, get involved into this giant battle. A lot of things go through. They take over all the magic. They take down pretty much everything down somewhat in Fairy World, where Mr. Crocker uses all the magic, whatever he can get his hands on, and gives it to Professor Calamitous. Professor Calamitous can do whatever he wants with it. And it leads up to a whole bunch of other games and a lot of other things. But I don't know what game after this comes next. But then from taking all the magic and science stuff and mutating whatever, we get to see Vlad Masters. Now, Vlad doesn't play a big role in this syndicate thing. The -4, I call them, then the -5 from, well, previously on the other game. But we actually get to see Professor Calamitous and Crocker take over Amity Park once they open that portal. A whole bunch of robots, a whole bunch of creatures, whatever magic things, and the anti-fairies and the pixies are in this because Professor Calamitous, he's actually new Anti-Cosmo, so Anti-Cosmo also knows the pixies people, so they would help into this plan, and it would be a chaos battle between magic, robots, and a bunch of freaking anti-pixie fairies going at it with most of the well, Amity Park. In Amity Park, we get to go all over Amity Park, so I'll explain that later. But we get to see the original ghost that was cut and that Angel Hawk dude. That guy and that ghost was completely cut. And I feel like those two would be a new character in the Danny Phantom TV show, where instead of Johnny 13's ghost being black and whatnot and being weak to technically light, he actually made a ghost similar to Johnny 13's ghost, and Johnny, the purple ghost appears, and the hawk dude comes. Vlad goes into the ghost zone, and they meet up with these people. Vlad was in Amity Park attacking it with whatever at the time, and all these portals show up. It's chaos. Magic and fairies and science robots come out of everywhere. Vlad gets captured somehow, or takes over one of the robots' many chaos things, and meets up with Crocker and Professor Calamitous. They team up, and that's a whole new storyline that comes into the play, and then they open the world to Bikini Bottom. Plankton has so much planned, and it continues completely. And this game goes from those three meeting. Jimmy actually has to find Timmy. Timmy says all the magic stuff is down, and my computer programs are not, well, responding, so they find Danny and then SpongeBob. Danny's whole town was invaded by ghosts, fairies, anti-fairies, pixies, and so forth. We get to go through Bikini Bottom, and it opens up just like how Bikini Bottom would open up before Plankton, well, kind of destroys it later on. We get to go to the Ghost Zone and Amity Casper High. Casper High and Amity Vad's castle. We get to go through the entire castle and the school. And we fight off a whole bunch of recurring bots, robots, anti-fairies, pixies, ghosts, whatever monsters. And we get to beat Vlad Masters. But before that, the Ghost Zone is a whole layout of we get to see cameos, fight other ghosts, and so forth. And everything between whatever ghost is around can get a cameo thing. We get to see the gorilla again, defeat the generators, Vlad escapes, and now Bikini Bottom. Now, Bikini Bottom, on the other hand, is completely destroyed. Like, there was a whole battle of Bikini Bottom. If you can see that, Patrick's house is completely destroyed, Squidward's house is destroyed, and a giant bite is taken out of the pineapple. Danny, all of the characters have to fight off these waves before Sandy shows up, and she actually gets to play a big part. The tree dome is destroyed, and the head to the Krusty Krab, that's the new headquarters. And I actually had a whole thing where Larry the Lobster, Squidward, and the giant Alaskan bullworm is actually involved, and it's mind controlled, and you have to stop it from some helmet device. And most of the Chum Bucket helmets come back, so you have to see most of your friends taken over. SpongeBob actually has Doodlebob, and Doodlebob gets a whole different design. Because he was teared up in the book or page or wherever he was trapped in for years or whatever, he gets a whole new look. And then we get to go through Jellyfish Fields, and we get to see the Flying Dutchman again and actually see him talk instead of just lines and no words. We get to go through the Chum Bucket as the Fairy Factory. We get to fight Karen, Plankton's somewhat dog thing, and then the crab. When we get to Mr. Crocker's place, it gets kind of hard because most of the stuff in Mr. Crocker's place is completely high tech. Most of the stuff is kind of hard because you got pixies and anti-fairies after you beat most of the waves to get to the diamond just to get to Fairy World. And we have to get to the big one, defeat Crocker, and then from Crocker we have to get towards the robot. Where is it? We have to go through Jimmy Neutron's robot thing and find the flea. And instead of skipping way to the battle, I came up with something where the candy bar in Retroville or land is attacked by all the cut content monsters, creatures, ghosts, everybody, and we get a second chance. Certain people get a second chance. One-on-one, SpongeBob and Doodlebob has to fight it out with a bunch of plankton bots, and then fairies and whatever ghost people, and then Professor Calamitous, and then the Doom bots. The Doomsday device actually divides up, and it really is hard to beat them, but it plays out just the rest. And that's it.